Now, to dissect some of the key points of this budget, I'm joined now by Colin Coleman, the banker and co-chairman of the Youth Employment Service, listening to what the finance minister had to say with this budget 2.0. Value-added tax definitely going up, this time by 1% over the next 2 years. Ultimately, one that could be debated in Parliament at a later stage. But did Godongwana have any other options to raise money for this fiscus?
Hi. So let me just say I'm in New York and I haven't managed to study the budget in a great amount of detail, but my initial reaction is certainly that the budget is extremely disappointing. And it's worrisome because there's no reason to believe that this budget in this form is going to get through the House. In other words, it may well be a budget that doesn't pass. The continuation with the increase of VAT hikes of 0.5% this year and 0.5% the following year appears to me to be a tone-deaf response to the failure of the first budget attempt. And this is not just a factor of the DA. If you listen to what Kusatu is saying, they won't support it. Various other parties, the Democratic Alliance, and others, and various NGOs that have come out against VAT increases as a measure. So to your question, the options, I think the options are definitely there. There's a wide, actually, toolkit, be it the pension fund issue, the GFECRA fund, be it expenditure cuts in areas where there's wasteful expenditure. But essentially, I think that the Treasury and the Finance Minister should have done their homework well in advance to determine where the low impact expenditures are and cut them out, making room for high impact expenditures. There are some of those. So I was pleased to see the 4 billion rand investment into SARS as an example. There should also be investment into the NPA and other high multiplier, high impact areas for both economic growth and for combating corruption in the system. So I think that the fundamental issue of this failure to listen to what society has been saying about the VAT increase is extremely disappointing. And I would note also that Business Leadership South Africa came out yesterday with a very clear statement saying that they were against VAT increases or other forms of tax hikes and pointing to further expenditure cuts in non-essential areas or wasteful areas of expenditure. And that's, I think, where the homework needs to be done going forward, is how do we look at a expenditure review that cuts deeply into an analysis of where is spending effective, where is it ineffective? And I think there's significant room to save and reinvest and recycle that into high productive areas.
Now, Colin, we're still at a time where South Africa's growth projections are still below 1%, at least for this year. And we're debating issues around value-added tax and where to find the money. Is South Africa at a point where it's ready to deliver a budget that's going to create that growth that we need to create jobs?
This is the fundamental issue. You've put it well. We just need to understand, in a country that has effectively 12 million people unemployed who can't find work or given up looking for work, and 17 million people who are employed, that in order to absorb the 500,000 people that come into the job market every year, we have to be growing at 3%. So the 1 to 1.5% that we are or have been growing at, and the Treasury is projecting 1.9% for this year, which I think is optimistic. Most people are in the 1.5 to 1.8% camp, but certainly below the 3% camp required for us to absorb these jobs. So unless we get our growth rate up, and we have to have a pro-growth set of measures, a stimulatory set of measures, and those measures which really surgically cut out spending that is wasteful, because we just don't have the resources to waste. then we're not going to get to our growth rate. So, we need to look at infrastructure investment. We need to look at high impact education and health spend, cut out bureaucracy, cut out wasteful investment, and make space for productive investment. That's the road forward that we need to really embark on.
Now, the Treasury usually takes the investment community into its confidence after tabling a budget like they did today. Do you think they have a good case or a case to put forward to international investors?
Well, I think the international community will be extremely concerned about, and you see that in the spiking currency exchange rates. I think the rand weakened by about 20 cents on the dollar today. And I haven't seen the bond prices, but I would expect it to be reflected there too. I think they're very concerned about whether this budget is going to pass. And it would seem to me that it's unlikely to pass in this current form. So it's quite irresponsible. South Africa has a track record of monetary and fiscal excellence, and we maintain that monetary excellence. But on the fiscal side, this is quite disappointing.
The Money Bills Amendment Procedure and Related Matters Act will allow Parliament then to debate and possibly pass or not pass this particular budget. Do you think this is a bad light of the Government of National Unity because it was punted as a great positive for the country after the national elections last year, but it seems they've hit a bit of a snag in terms of wrapping this one up?
Well, there are definitely tensions here. The DA has been very clear that at the time of Budget 1.0 that it wouldn't support VAT increase. And I think it's made itself known now, or it came out publicly today saying it won't support the VAT increase as proposed. So I'm not sure what they could have done differently, but it would seem to me that the ruling party or the leading party in the Government of National Unity, the ANC, needs to think about the trade-offs a little bit more carefully and craft something that can build that consensus. But at the end of the day, I don't personally see the Government of National Unity failing. But I do think it feels like the Finance Ministry is tone deaf to the wishes of South Africans out there. And this Finance Minister is going to, in the end, be held accountable for whatever unfolds.
All right, that was Colin Coleman, banker and co-chairman of the Youth Employment Service. Thank you so much for your time.